Today's video is all about project failure. I'm going to share with you 3 common ways we actually set up our projects for failure. And how do I know? Because these are mistakes that I've made in the past on my own projects, and I don't want you to make them. So I'm going to walk you through what these mistakes look like and how we can prevent them from happening in the first place. And stay tuned to the end of this video because I'm going to be sharing some resources for you. This is actually stuff that I use in my coaching with my own clients and on my own projects to help make sure my projects are always set up for success. So stay tuned to the end for free stuff. Hi, I'm Kayla, and I help people do business better by leveraging my experience in project management and building businesses. If this is something you're interested in, I would love to invite you to subscribe to my channel. And I also want to invite you to follow me over on LinkedIn, where I'm posting just about every Monday through Friday. I'm going to provide my link in the video description box below. And if you're interested in learning more about my services or working one-on-one together, check out my website at kaylamaguire.com or stay tuned to the end of this video. Enjoy. Okay, so let's talk about project failure. First of all, I want to say everybody makes mistakes, okay? We're all going to make mistakes. There is no perfect project. There is no perfect person. There is no perfect project manager. We are all going to make mistakes. Just expect that. What I'm trying to get to with this video is helping you with some actual really simple, basic, easy stuff that we can do in the front end of our project to prevent some major bad things happening down the road. And the reason why I picked these 3 things is because they're not only mistakes that I've made in the past, but they're mistakes that I hear over and over project managers are making. Experienced project managers, people that have PMP certification. No one is immune to these mistakes. And the other day I actually made a post on LinkedIn about this, about these 3 mistakes. And I got a lot of really good comments and feedback from people talking about mistakes that they had made and ways, they prevent these things from happening. And it got me thinking that, we should talk more about this, about the way that we make mistakes, the way that how that actually looks practically in the moment. So I thought I would make this video and walk you through these 3 mistakes and sort of what I was thinking as I made these mistakes, why I made these mistakes, because in many cases there was a reason why. Maybe that reason was I wasn't educated enough, I didn't have a mentor or whatever, but there can also be other reasons why as project managers we think we need to skip over things, and that can sometimes be a trap. That's what I want to talk about here. So there are 3 things that I want to touch on. As I said, these are all things that you can do on the front end of your project to prevent really big things from happening. And as I mentioned, with each thing I list, I have some resources that I'm going to share with you at the end of this video. I'm going to share with you how to get them. And they're actually things that I use with my projects and my clients and my coaching to help people not make these mistakes that are kind of easy to make sometimes. Okay. Let me also say that these are mistakes I made when I was early on in my project management career. I didn't really have help or guidance or mentorship, as many of you know. My background is in startup, and so often we are the only project manager. We don't have someone there to kind of help us through it. So certainly if you're in that position where you're the only project manager or you're the senior person, you might really want to watch out for these things. So let's get started. Okay, mistake number 1 for me was not having a communication plan in place. And, there were a variety of things that led up to this decision. The first was I thought, this is a really simple project. I've done a bunch like this in the past. This will be easy, right? I can just kind of sail through this. I don't need a formal communication plan. I also had some internal and external stakeholders, both, who were very busy. They, it seemed like it was a lot of effort to get them together once a week, every other week, maybe even once a month. It just seemed like it was a lot, and I didn't want to burden them with this little project update meeting, right? So I said, you know what? We don't need a communication plan. I'm really good at what I do. You guys are busy. Let's just connect when we need to connect and it'll be good, right? And it was okay for a while. I thought, okay, this thing is moving. But eventually what happens in that scenario is you're not getting feedback in a timely way like you need to make decisions or get approvals or move forward. And when you cut out that communication piece, that actually really hurts the project in general. Even if everybody feels like everything's kind of moving okay, you don't have that touch point, to that glue point in the project to solidify that everything is actually moving okay. So when you don't have a communication plan, it can lead to confusion. It can lead to confusion with priorities. It can lead to confusion with making decisions, with getting feedback, right? Another mistake we can make with the communication plan is maybe having one, but it's really loosely enforced. So we're like, oh, okay, we made the communication plan, but we only follow it like 20% of the time, or maybe you follow it for the first couple of weeks and then you start to fall off and you lose the communication, you lose those touch points. I see this one a lot. And then the project starts to unravel down the road. So having that solid communication plan, saying, okay, these are the people that we need to touch in with. This is the cadence that we need to be meeting or touching in. And these are like the different agenda points that we want to have in our meeting. It can be as quick as a 15-minute meeting, but it needs to be something. You need to have that touch point there, because without it, your project starts to fall apart, and it can even be possible that the project will fail altogether. You need to be really careful with this one. So, one thing that I have to help you with this, it's not a communication plan template, because I think like that's pretty basic, right? You just need to know who and when and where. You guys can all make that yourself. But what I do have here that I'm going to share with you is a kickoff sample agenda. This is a sample agenda that I use with many of my kickoffs, and I might take things away or add things as they're necessary. But one of the points on the agenda is to make sure that we have a communication plan in place. So I think preparing the communication plan collaboratively, and then making sure everybody knows in kickoff that like this is the communication plan and this is why it's important. That's a really important touch point to have in your project, and especially in your kickoff. So this is what I'm going to provide for you here, is this kickoff sample agenda where you can make sure that you have that communication plan in place and everybody's on the same page. Okay, my second mistake is an easy one to make if you're not following a process for your project initiation. And maybe you just dive into your projects. Maybe you say, okay, this is what we're going to do. Let's just go. And you don't think through it properly. You might miss setting up success criteria. Okay, and your success criteria is different from the overall goal and objective of your project, because your success criteria is how you're measuring the success of those goals or that goal and objective. And it's more involved than just saying the project ended on time and on budget. You want to be able to measure certain aspects of that project and their success. So you'll want to think through this and how it makes sense for your particular project. So let's say you're building an app. Maybe you want to have a certain number of downloads, or you want to have a certain percentage of users that stay on the app for a certain period of time. There should be ways that you can measure the success of your project, and you're going to want to get on the same page about this before you embark on the project, because the people involved in this project could have different ideas about what success means. And unless you get that out in the open and you're actually talking about it and asking questions and being collaborative about it, you're all going to go forward with this project having a different idea about what success even means. So you really need to get this nailed down in the front end of your project. So the way this happened in my experience is when I was working as a project manager, and a senior leadership person would say, okay, hey, we're going to move forward with this project. But because we didn't have a formal process around that, I didn't understand how to push back and advocate for clarity. I knew it should happen, but I didn't necessarily know how to do that. This is why it's really important to have a PMO, even if you're just a small team, to have some sort of process around how you pursue projects and new work. So again, I know many of you have been in this situation, and there's some bureaucratic things that can happen that make it difficult to navigate this sort of situation. But as project managers, we really need to advocate for the project and make sure that there's clarity around that. And a really good way we can do that is with success criteria. So I do have a helpful piece of information here. I hope it's helpful to you as you are working through your projects. I'm going to provide in this packet that I will be putting on Gumroad that has all of these things on there for free. I'm going to include a list of questions that will help you through that initiation phase, asking the right questions, really getting down to what does success mean? How can we define that? How can we approach our stakeholders about this and make sure that we are collaborating effectively and we come to an agreement that makes sense for everybody? So I have this sort of template of questions here I'm going to provide in that packet for you, and I hope that helps you with establishing your success criteria. Okay, the third mistake I made was not having a project charter at all. And I understand that not all teams go through the whole project charter thing, but you can do it pretty quickly and easily. You can just have a one-pager, okay? Really, just a one-pager. Even if you have a statement of work, I would still recommend you have a project charter, because there is a certain element of formality that happens when you have a project charter and you review that with your team and your kickoff or whatever. There's a certain like formality to the project, like it's really happening and this is what's happening and this is how it's going to go. The project charter for me really sets that tone and helps it be taken more seriously. It also lays out everything in a really clear fashion and helps you work through all of the different questions about the project that needs to be addressed. Like, what are the risks? What are the assumptions that we're making? What's the success criteria? What's our budget? Who's signing off on this? When did we get formal approval? That is why your project charter is useful. It is a document that you can refer back to, anyone can refer back to throughout the course of the project. And so it helps keep you on course. It's like your North Star. And without that, things can really go off the rails. So in my case, when I didn't have a project charter, this was very similar to the situations where I didn't have success criteria, where often I was getting sort of like instructions from a senior leadership person, and there wasn't the formality. We didn't have a PMO. And so I was thrown into these projects and again, didn't really understand or know why it was important to push back about the structure that is offered through a project charter. This is not just something that project managers do to check off a list, or it shouldn't be something that we do just to check off a list and have another form and paper. This is something that you think about and you really consider all of the different aspects of this project and how things can go down so that you set yourself up for success. And again, without one, it's highly likely that you might fail because no one ever knew what the expectations were in the first place. Without the project charter, you're just doing stuff, really. You need something that serves as that like sign off of here's what we're doing and why. So if you can't tell, I really love project charters. This is something when I'm working with teams, I always ask, okay, project initiation is a really important part of the process. And I always want to make sure we're setting up our projects for success. These 3 mistakes that I gave you, these are all things that happen typically in project initiation at the start, and they're really easy to fix, right? Project charter, within that charter, we have success criteria and a proper kickoff where we have a proper cadence for our communication plan and people that will be staying in touch, and we know what everyone's role is and what their responsibilities are. These are ways that we can keep our projects on track and keep them safe and save our butts as project managers too, because when we don't do these things, we're kind of setting ourselves up for failure. So these are not only avoiding failure, but they're setting you up for success as a project manager. And that's what we all want, right? Okay, so as I mentioned, I want to let you know where you can find the resources that we reviewed today. There were 3 of them, right? The project kickoff agenda, the project initiation questions, and the project charter template, which I don't think I told you. That's included too, the project charter template. So those 3 different resources, and you can find those available for free download on my Gumroad page. And I'm going to link that up in the video description box below. I'm also going to try to put it up here on the screen for you here to make it easy for you. Simply navigate to my Gumroad page and look for the project success packet there, and it will be available for download. It'll come out in a PDF format for you there, and I hope it's helpful. Good luck. Okay, that's it for today. If you're interested in working with me, if you're interested in my services, more about what I do, stay tuned. I'm going to talk you through that, but until next time, see you later. Bye. Hi, I'm Kayla, and I help people do business better by leveraging my experience in project management and building businesses. There are a few different services I offer through my consulting company. The first is one-on-one coaching and strategy sessions, and this offer is extended to project managers or entrepreneurs who are working through maybe a particularly challenging project, maybe need help with strategy around your project. I offer one-on-one sessions to work with you on that, and you can find out more on my website at kaylamaguire.com. The second service I offer is geared towards entrepreneurs who are building and scaling their businesses, early stage, maybe in the first 1 to 5 years, and you have run into a point where you no longer have time or bandwidth to really grow with and build your team, especially from an operational capacity. So I offer fractional project and operations support to help you build your team, train your team, implement a PMO, get things really optimized in order for you to take things to the next level. If this is something you're interested in learning more about, please reach out to me via my website. Again, it's kaylamaguire.com. And finally, I want to share with you my Gumroad page here. This is where I have the free resources that I mentioned at the beginning of this video. I also have something that's called the Freelance Project Manager Guidebook. This is something I put together to help project managers who were getting into freelancing or wanted to start their own consultancy. This ebook serves as a blueprint for your freelancing strategy, and it offers support in areas such as how to identify your niche, how to set rates, where to find work, how to find work, all that good stuff. So again, this is offered on my Gumroad page. If you have any additional questions about my services, please feel free to reach out on my website or in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.